Episode 12, The Otto Engine and William Durant. On May 9, 1876, at the factory of the German gas engine manufacturing company Deutz, numerous engineers and officials gathered in front of an engine. Among them were Otto, Langen, Daimler, and Maybach. The cylindrical engine was lying on its side, rapidly reciprocating, and the faces of those watching were filled with excitement and joy. Their expressions were as jubilant as those of children. Among them, Daimler approached Otto and offered his congratulation. He shared in the joy of this moment, the culmination of years of research, convinced that the engine born from Otto's idea would power the world. Otto also smiled and expressed his gratitude for Daimler's congratulation. He emphasized that this engine was not just the result of his own idea, but also owed its success to the exceptional technical skills of Daimler and Maybach, particularly praising the innovation of the float carburetor developed by Maybach. In response, Maybach humbly stated that without Otto's four-stroke concept, his own invention would not have been possible. Otto laughed heartily and praised Daimler and Maybach, saying that meeting them was the greatest fortune of his life. He then asked Daimler to personally introduce the engine to the audience. Daimler quickly stepped in front of the engine and began explaining to the audience. He introduced himself as the technical director of Deutz and emphasized that this engine was a revolutionary departure from the conventional two-stroke engines. While previous engines used an inefficient two-stroke process, this engine, based on Otto's idea, operated on a four-stroke cycle intake, compression, power, and exhaust. Daimler announced that this cycle was named the Otto cycle, after Otto. The audience congratulated Otto upon hearing the explanation, and Otto expressed his great joy and gratitude. Daimler continued explaining the working principles of the Otto cycle. He explained that during the intake stroke, a mixture of gas and air entered the cylinder through the carburetor, and in the compression stroke, the crankshaft's movement caused the piston to rise, compressing the mixture to a high-pressure and high-temperature state. Next, in the power stroke, the ignition source caused the mixture to explode, pushing the piston downward to generate power. And finally, in the exhaust stroke, the burned gases were expelled from the engine. He emphasized that this four-stroke cycle allowed for significantly higher thermal efficiency and more stable power transmission compared to previous internal combustion engines, making it far superior to any other engine developed up to that point. As he concluded his explanation, the audience cheered once more, celebrating the birth of a groundbreaking technology. The Otto cycle. Almost all modern automobiles use engines based on the Otto cycle. This internal combustion engine, an early form of the modern engine, developed by Otto, used coal gas for lighting and produced 2.2 horsepower. Furthermore, since combustion occurred directly inside the cylinder, allowing the combustion gases to act, it boasted an impressive 10 thermal efficiency, which was revolutionary at the time. For reference, comparing the internal combustion engine and the external combustion engine, the internal combustion engine had high thermal efficiency because the fuel burned directly inside the cylinder, resulting in less heat loss. Because of its high thermal efficiency, the internal combustion engine could travel much farther with the same weight of fuel compared to an external combustion engine. Unlike the external combustion engine, which required force, igniting a boiler to generate high-pressure steam and then warming up the main engine. The internal combustion engine allowed for easy starting, stopping, and shifting. The external combustion engine had a large and complex structure with components like boilers, condensers, and various pumps, whereas the internal combustion engine did not require such bulky and complicated structures. Recognizing these advantages early on, Otto, Daimler, and Benz focused on internal combustion engines, and eventually invented what would become the foundation of modern engines. However, the internal combustion engine also had its drawbacks. While the internal combustion engine performed excellently at high speeds for long periods, it suffered from incomplete combustion at low speeds, leading to increased wear and damage to engine components and reduced thermal efficiency. Additionally, because it had a more complex structure than the external combustion engine, it was difficult for the average person to handle, and the high combustion pressure inside the cylinder resulted in significant noise and vibration. To withstand this high combustion pressure, high-strength, premium materials were required for various engine components, necessitating advanced manufacturing techniques. Later, these drawbacks would trouble Daimler, Maybach, and Benz. But as they solved each issue one by one, they became the world's top engineers. On May 9, 1876, at the German gas engine manufacturing company Deutz, the atmosphere was filled with celebration as an innovative engine was born. Listening to Daimler's explanation with a satisfied expression, Otto approached the audience and declared that Deutz would now grow into a global company. He expressed his desire to share this joy with everyone and encouraged them to enjoy the banquet prepared outdoors. The audience cheered and moved to the banquet hall, where praise for Otto's groundbreaking invention continued. Particularly, Daimler and Maybach, the unsung heroes, received much attention and questions from the crowd, and they enjoyed the meaningful moment while responding. As time passed and the banquet ended, only Otto, Langen, Daimler, and Maybach remained. On the table, foamy beer was placed as if celebrating their achievements, and while the four looked exhausted, they also wore expressions of fulfillment, having realized a long-held dream. Eventually, Otto began reminiscing about his past and started to speak. During his time running a business in Cologne, he learned that the French engineer Jean-Joseph Etienne Lenoir had developed a unique gas engine, which motivated him to create an even better engine. At that time, his technical skills made it a daunting challenge. But he purchased Lenoir's engine and thoroughly analyzed it, identifying areas for improvement and eventually developing a new engine based on his findings. Otto received praise for his engine being ahead of its time, but he himself believed it was only half a step ahead. He explained that while being ahead of the world is beneficial, advancing too far could make it difficult for the public to understand and commercialize the technology. Therefore, he emphasized the need for a balanced pace of progress that connects the present with the future. Everyone deeply resonated with his philosophical perspective and nodded in agreement. Otto then expressed his confidence that his developed engine had made significant progress beyond the past, and paid deep respect to Langen, Daimler, and Maybach, who had contributed their efforts. He then raised his beer glass and proposed a toast, and the four of them celebrated their hard work with refreshing beer. At that moment, Otto suddenly came up with a proposal. He asked Maybach to showcase the newly developed engine at the Philadelphia World's Fair and wanted to name the engine after himself as the Otto engine. Since the four-stroke process was already called the Otto cycle, he felt it was appropriate for the engine itself to bear his name. However, Daimler had a different opinion on this matter. He suggested that since many engineers at Deutz had contributed passionately to its development, it would be more appropriate to name it the Deutz engine. Otto pondered for a moment, but ultimately did not change his decision. He believed that as the original designer of the engine, it was more meaningful to name it after himself rather than the company, and he rejected Daimler's suggestion. Daimler attempted to persuade him once more, but Otto firmly made his decision, indicating that he did not wish for further debate. He asked Maybach to focus on improving the engine design and commercializing it at the Cologne factory before abruptly leaving the room. Daimler showed a bitter expression at Otto's attitude, but did not say anything further. Ultimately, the engine was named the Otto engine, and the four-stroke process was recorded in history as the Otto cycle. However, this decision went beyond a mere naming issue and became the catalyst for a conflict between Otto and Daimler. In the winter of 1877, in a home in Flint, Michigan, a high school student was revealing an unexpected decision to his mother. At the time, the 16-year-old boy believed there was nothing more to learn at school and had firmly decided to quit high school. However, surprisingly, his mother was not shaken at all by her son's sudden declaration. She advised him to seriously reconsider dropping out and suggested that, with only 6 months left until graduation, he should finish high school. However, the boy's determination was firm. He said that everything taught at school felt predictable, and that he no longer saw the need for it. Seeing her son's resolute attitude, his mother no longer tried to stop him and quietly respected his decision. At the time, it was rare for parents to respect their child's wishes, and for a young man to choose a new path based on his own convictions. And this boy, who made this decision, would later become a legendary figure in the automobile industry, William Crapo Durant. William Durant was born in Boston in 1861 to his father, William Clark Durant, who married on November 21, 1855, and his mother, Rebecca Folger Crapo. However, Rebecca Crapo divorced William Clark Durant, who had become an alcoholic, lost all his wealth in the stock market, and turned violent. She then moved with her daughter, Rebecca Crapo Durant, November 24, 1857, and her son, William Durant, to Flint, Michigan, where her family had settled. William Durant's grandfather, Henry Howland Crapo, was born in 1804 on a farm near Dartmouth, Massachusetts. He worked in the fields during the day and studied by candlelight at night, eventually becoming a schoolteacher, land surveyor, an auctioneer, a classic self-made man. Henry Howland Crapo moved to Flint, Michigan, 3 years after Rebecca Crapo got married. At the time, Michigan was experiencing a lumber boom, and Henry Howland Crapo started a timber business in Flint. He made a fortune from this business and expanded into the railroad industry. He also entered politics, serving as the mayor of Flint in 1860, a state senator for the Republican Party in 1862, and the governor of Michigan in 1864 and 1866. However, on July 23, 1869, just a few months before Rebecca Crapo divorced her reckless husband, William Clark Durant, Henry Howland Crapo passed away due to gallstones. Afterward, William Durant was raised by his single mother. Although he shocked everyone by declaring he would quit high school just 6 months before graduation, it was not considered highly unusual at the time. Americans at the time believed that diligence and creativity were more important for success than education, so they did not feel much need for formal schooling. As a result, newly graduated young people would even hide their academic backgrounds to avoid being dismissed as out-of-touch intellectuals. In this era, William Durant, who had dropped out of high school, found his first job at the Crapo lumber yard, which was founded by his grandfather. Although he was the founder's grandson, he had to start by carrying lumber for a daily wage of 75 cents. After enduring a tough initiation at the Crapo lumber yard, William Durant soon found a job that suited him well. He began working as a night clerk at a nearby drug store that sold medicines, household goods, cosmetics, tobacco, books, and beverages. At first, he only sold products in the store at night. But later, he became a sales representative selling medicines and cigars outside of work hours. With his handsome face, warm smile, and eloquent speech, William Durant soon became the top salesman in Western Michigan. Before turning 20, he sold more cigars than the 3 other salesmen employed by the store combined. Seeing this, the store owner fired the other 3 salesmen and granted William Durant exclusive sales rights for the store. From this point on, William Durant became a lifelong cigar enthusiast, which would later become a minor cause of his eventual split with Louis Joseph Chevrolet. Having succeeded as a salesman, William Durant continued to take on new ventures, making more money with each one, and the people of Flint no longer saw him as just a salesman,